In early 1942, it looked like Hitler might actually win the Battle of the Atlantic. German U-boats were sinking Allied ships faster than they could be replaced. Oil tankers exploded in flames within sight of American beaches. Cargo ships went down so close to shore that people on the boardwalks could see the burning wrecks. Admiral Karl Dönitz had promised Hitler that his U-boats could strangle Britain. For a few terrifying months, it seemed he might be right. But within 2 years, that entire strategy collapsed. The industrial giant Hitler had mocked, found a way to outbuild, outthink, and outlast the most dangerous submarine force. This is how the United States turned the Battle of the Atlantic from a near disaster into one of its most important victories of World War II. At the start of 1942, the U.S. East Coast was almost completely unprepared for submarine warfare. Cities from Boston to Miami still blazed with light at night. Those lights silhouetted merchant ships offshore like targets on a shooting range. There were no proper blackouts, no organized convoy system, and very few escorts. U-boats called it the second happy time. For them, it was like hunting in a crowded harbor. One captain, Reinhard Hartigan of U-123, slipped into American coastal waters. He began sinking ships so close to shore that he could see city lights reflected on the smoke columns. In his first patrol off the American coast, he sank 8 ships. He returned to Germany a hero. He was not alone. In just the first 6 months of 1942, German submarines sank nearly 400 ships. Oil that should have fueled Allied tanks washed up on beaches. Food that should have fed British civilians sank to the bottom of the Atlantic. To Dönitz, this was the proof he needed. His strategy was working. If he could keep sinking ships at this rate, Britain's lifeline would snap. The United States might never have time to fully mobilize, but deep inside American shipyards, something was already changing the math. Before the war, building a cargo ship was a slow, traditional craft. Shipyards took many months to complete a single vessel. Then came men like Henry J. Kaiser. Kaiser was not a shipbuilder by training. He was a construction magnate who had worked on giant projects like the Hoover Dam. He looked at shipbuilding not as a mysterious art, but as a manufacturing problem. Break the job into steps. Standardize the steps. Train people quickly. Use machines to speed up the work. In his yards on the U.S. West Coast, Kaiser introduced prefabrication and mass welding. Instead of building a ship piece by piece, he had large sections constructed in parallel. These superstructures were then brought together like building blocks. He recruited workers from all over the country. Farmers, factory hands, women who had never worked in heavy industry. Black workers fleeing the segregated South also joined. Most of them had never seen the ocean before. In weeks, they learned to weld and assemble ships. Traditional shipbuilders said this could never work. They insisted that ships built by such methods would be weak and unreliable. They were wrong. Kaiser's Liberty ships were not just faster to build, they were also remarkably solid. In 1941, it took on average about 230 days to build a Liberty cargo ship. By late 1942, Kaiser's yards were turning them out in less than 50 days. In one famous example, the Liberty ship Robert E. Peary was assembled and launched in 4 days and 15 hours. It took a U-boat longer than that just to cross the Atlantic. By the end of 1942, American shipyards had launched around 8 million tons of new shipping. In 1943, they launched about 19 million tons. For the first time, new construction was greater than the losses. Every time a U-boat sent a ship to the bottom, 2 more Liberty ships were waiting to replace it. Dönitz had bet everything on being able to sink ships faster than they could be built. He never imagined an enemy that could build faster than he could sink. But outbuilding the U-boats was only half the victory. The other half was learning how to fight back. In those early months of 1942, American coastal defenses were disorganized. There were few convoys, few escort ships, and limited air patrols. The United States paid heavily for that inexperience. Then the learning curve began. Convoys were organized so that merchant ships sailed in large groups protected by destroyers and corvettes. Long-range patrol aircraft started sweeping the Atlantic for submarine periscopes and wakes. New technologies appeared. Improved sonar helped escort ships detect submerged U-boats. Radar helped aircraft find surfaced submarines at night or in bad weather. Radio direction finding allowed Allied ships and bases to triangulate U-boat positions when they transmitted messages. The hunters were beginning to be hunted. In May 1943, the turning point came. That month, the Germans lost 43 submarines, each with a highly trained crew, were destroyed in just 30 days. For Dönitz, this was devastating. He had always known his submarines were vulnerable. Now, U-boats were being destroyed faster than he could replace them. He had to pull back. The Battle of the Atlantic did not end overnight, but the momentum had shifted permanently. The period when U-boats could operate freely in the mid-Atlantic was over. By late 1943 and 1944, the Atlantic was no longer a graveyard for Allied shipping. It was a highway. Massive convoys crossed from North America to Britain under the protection of warships and aircraft. The cargo they carried would decide the war. Tanks for the British 8th Army, and later for the invasion of France. Fuel for bombers and armored divisions. Trucks, artillery, rations, uniforms, ammunition. Behind those convoys stood the full weight of American industry. Factories that had once produced civilian cars now turned out heavy trucks and tank destroyers. Steel that might have become bridge girders or rail cars in peacetime became hulls and guns. Every successful crossing was a defeat for Hitler's strategy. He had expected to starve Britain into submission. Instead, Britain became a giant, fortified base, from which the Allies would launch the liberation of Western Europe. Without victory in the Battle of the Atlantic, there could be no D-Day, no sustained bombing campaign, no continuous flow of men and material onto the European continent. When people think of American victories in World War II, they often picture Normandy, Iwo Jima, or the Bulge. But the victory over the U-boats, the quiet, grinding, industrial war at sea, was just as important. In the end, the side that wins a modern war is usually the side that can stay supplied. Germany had brave crews and deadly submarines, but the United States had shipyards, factories, and a willingness to learn from its mistakes. Hitler thought America was too soft to fight a long war. The convoys that crossed the Atlantic between 1942 and 1945 proved just how wrong he was. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and follow Supreme Front for more intense World War II history. We've got many more forgotten battles, untold operations, and real frontline stories coming up. So hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay with Supreme Front for the next war story.